Welcome people, this is volume 2 to my series on lost media in hip hop, where I discuss media in hip hop that no longer exists, is missing, or is no longer available to the general public. This also includes things that are incredibly hard to find and other things of that nature. But like I said in the first volume, lost media is an umbrella term which by definition is a word or a phrase that covers a wide range of concepts belonging to a common category. If you haven't done so yet, then definitely check out my first volume in this series to get a taste of what this series is going to be about, and just sit back and enjoy, man. Before I get more into the video though, I would first like to thank you guys for coming to see this, because you guys can be doing a million other things right now, but instead you're here with me and I appreciate that. If you guys like the content, you guys should like, comment, and subscribe to help the channel grow. I reply to some of the comments and I love going through them and love seeing what you guys think. Also, follow me on Instagram too, that would be greatly appreciated. You guys can always reach out and just show me some love, it's all good. Also, let me know where you are tuning in from. Represent where you're from. Comment down below some lost hip hop media that you would like me to discuss in upcoming volumes. But without further ado, I give you Lost Hip Hop Media Volume 2. Now, a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot of people have hit me up just to do a video on 3 6 Mafia in general. I mean, like, that's probably like the most requested video I have ever got. But yeah, but I will tell you that this week you guys will be getting a 3 6 Mafia video. But while I was doing research for that 3 6 Mafia video, I was scrolling on the Lost Media wiki and I found an article about an unreleased 3 6 Mafia album called Laws of Power. The album was initially supposed to release in August of 2009 according to an article in Billboard. About the album, member of 3 6 Mafia Juicy J would say that the album was going to be about 20 songs and that the album was 90% done. The article also says that at that time, there were 2 planned lead singles, with the mainstream targeted single and the song Shake My, which was a Rodney Darkchild Jenkins produced track featuring singer Kalina. Sorry if I butchered that, but she's from Diddy's group Dirty Money. And there was supposed to be a gangster track, which was a new version of the song Lil Freak which featured on Juicy J's solo album Hustle Till I Die, which came out in June of that year. The article would also state that they recorded a techno-flavored song called Feel It, which was produced by Tiesto and features Flo Rida and Sean Kingston, as well as having songs with Kevin Rudolph and Dr. Luke. Man, this sounds like an interesting project. But DJ Paul would also say that despite rumors at that time that Lord Infamous had not rejoined 3 6 Mafia and did not appear on Laws of Power, DJ Paul was also asked about the significance behind the title of the album, and he would say, "Because we feel 3 6 Mafia has always been known for starting trends. Songs like Sippin' Some Syrup, Riding Spinners, Tear the Club Up, always set trends and started little things. Our songs were like the law of those trends. On this album, each song represents a different law and what we feel you need to be doing at that time." The article would end off saying that 3 6 Mafia hoped to hold industry listening parties for the album later that month, and at the time was planning an extensive promotional tour prior to the album's release. Once it came out, they hoped to hit the concert stage, but at that time, no dates had been determined. Now, there's a second Billboard article in which that was released in January of 2010, while that other one was released in August of 2009. In this article, 3 6 Mafia would refer to that song Feel It with Tiesto as the most different song that they've ever made in their lives. And I also found out that the song Little Freak featured Webbie, which I like totally forgot about that song. Like when it comes to 3 6 Mafia, totally that used to be my joint back in the day. Yo, my dad was a big 3 6 Mafia fan, so heard that song all the time. Super duper fire. But along with Webbie, we also got more insight on some other people who were supposed to be featured on the album, which were Tech 9 and Project Pat. This second Billboard article would say that the album was supposed to come out in March of 2010. Time went by and the album didn't come out, but Juicy J would do an interview in 2011 and he would say, "We've been doing so much work on this album that I can't even say when it's dropping. We've recorded over 75 songs. We will release something hopefully this summer, but it will be this year." Time went by again and it wouldn't come out. DJ Paul did an interview in 2020 and he was asked if Laws of Power was ever going to be released, and he said, "I doubt it." So although we never got the whole album, we do have a few tracks that was meant to be on it. Both Feel It and Lil Freak are fire, and like I cannot lie. Like, it's crazy to see that Feel It with Tiesto has over 55 million views on YouTube alone. It makes me think what 3 6 Mafia could have did if they ventured more into that sound and that lane at that time. By the way, if I end up showing some cover art of Laws of Power, I don't know if that was confirmed to be it, because on the wiki it says that it was the possible cover art for it. But man, if it really was the cover art, yo, like, that is super sick in my opinion. In conclusion, if we're holding DJ Paul to his word, we'll probably never get this album, which really sucks and makes me put into perspective of how much DJ Paul and Juicy J collectively have of unreleased material from themselves, together, and 3 6 Mafia throughout the phases of the group. They're sitting on literal history. Like, it's insane when you think about it. And even when you look at DJ Paul's classic volume series. At one point, this album Laws of Power was intended for public consumption, but it got delayed multiple times, resulting in it possibly never coming out, leaving fans years after the fact wondering what could have been. Well, this will be Nas' second appearance in this series, and don't worry, this definitely won't be his last, because Nas actually has a bunch of lost media and actually might be in the next volume again, but I'm still making that decision to have this man on there 3 consecutive volumes. But once again, this is another thing that I read on a lost media wiki that I found very interesting. So basically, The Death of Escobar is an unreleased Nas album that was supposed to come out in 2001 and was in reference to Nas's alternative persona of Nas Escobar, who is also in reference to the famous Pablo Escobar, but I figured that people will put 2 and 2 together and make that correlation. But the article will go on and say that much information about this album is unknown, and pictures of this purported album had surfaced through the internet for a decade, and the album even had a barcode provided as well, which meant that there was planned distribution for the album. The article also says that hip-hop heads debated for years whether this album went on to be Stillmatic, which went on to be released in December of 2001, a canceled concept album, or was a fan-made fake. In 2014, on a blog called The Lost Tapes, a person who goes by the name of CLAAA7 would reveal that in fact this album was real and was intended to be the first part of the album Stillmatic, but was canceled before it was released and instead re-released and retitled as The Lost Tapes in 2002. In the Lost Wiki article, it says that in the year 2000, Nas started working on his new album, and in early 2001, an email message was sent to people who were subscribed to Sony Music Street Team UK's email newsletter. This was the email allegedly said: "The forthcoming Nas album is on hold at the moment. Here's the latest plan. Nas wants to release Death of Escobar first, with Stillmatic to follow. Death of Escobar is the bootleg/sessions project. The project will feature the track listing below, plus 3 new tracks. This track listing could and probably will change. The 3 new tracks will explain Escobar's death. No music has been discussed or recorded for Stillmatic. In a best case scenario, the album will be released in June 2001. From this email, we can pretty much put together that Death of Escobar was going to be a sort of introduction type album that explained the death of Nas's alter ego, Nas Escobar. Stillmatic was going to be this rebirth, rebranding of Nas, if you will. And then the article brings up that around this time, Vibe magazine actually reviewed the album before it was set to be released. I'll try to put up the article on the screen so you guys can read it. So the article goes, with 1994's Illmatic, Nasty Nas's intricate street lyrics drew him comparisons to Kool G Rap and Rakim. His music also got respect from those people in the ghetto who needed a knowledgeable voice to expose their struggles and reassure them that there was hope for the future. Nas's well-received first CD was followed by 3 more successes. It was Written, I Am, and Nostradamus, and a new Nas Escobar persona, a generic Moet sipping mogul in white fur and iced out accessories. While his post-Illmatic work sold millions, true fans pinned for Nasty Nas. Instead of the elaborate skits and soulless rhymes of his work as bootlegs and remixes of DOE, are old school Nasty Nas. Like Ice Cube's classic Jackin' for Beats, the foulness finds Nas spitting over 4 dynamic beats. The Slick Rick flavored rise and fall details one man's epic struggles in the rap game. For Papa Was a Player, Nas tells a sad story of his father's misogyny. The seamless blending of old and new material continues on tracks like Tales from the Hood about murder-happy drug dealers and Your Mouth Got You In It. While bootlegging kept fans away from much of this material, DOE is well worth the wait. So as you can see, they heard the album and thought that it was well worth the wait, and even listed some of the songs off of the album. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but they mentioned the song Papa Was a Player, and that ended up being on Lost Tapes. Another interesting thing the article talked about was how Nas had a song called The Foulness, where he rapped over 4 dynamic beats and then had a Slick Rick inspired song in Rise and Fall. One of the last things I want to touch on in the Lost Media Wiki article is that it says that a bootleg has existed on Discogs since 2011-2012 with only a speculated track list. It says that this isn't an authentic copy and that it seems that studio copies for the project have not turned up. It's currently unknown how many variants exist or if any bootlegs might be the real copy. Originally, I was going to end the segment at that, but then I got curious and I ended up wanting to find out more. So I found this blog that the wiki was referring to, and I found that it had some key information on there. So the person who made the post said that a guy called Cairo, or Cairo Kid, once again, hopefully I'm saying that right, who knew him, gave him key information that would reveal that Death of Escobar was in fact a proper album that was completed and scrapped really close to its original release date. The writer would also go on to say that the truth behind the project is that it's more of an early version of the compilation album The Lost Tapes. The person then talks about the Vibe article and the email that was sent out, and then they plug in a link to a mailing group where I managed to find a track list, which, keep in mind, like as the email said, could and probably would have changed. I'll post the track list, and this is interesting to say the least. According to the Lost Media Wiki, tracks 1, 5, 6, 7, 12, 13, and 15 would appear on the Lost Tapes, with a few having altered names, and tracks 7 and 13 being only available in Japan and other markets. Another note they had for this album was that this was supposed to be 50 Cent's intended debut on a major album on the song Projects Too Hot, but that song would appear as Too Hot on 50 Cent's debut official solo mixtape in 2002, Guess Who's Back. Notice how I said debut official mixtape, for those who might try to fact check me on that. Also, the song Papa Was a Player was going to be one of Kanye's first major productions, but the interesting thing about it is that Papa Was a Player was originally supposed to be on the original version of Nas's album I Am, which was released in 1999. Kanye first was buzzing when he produced Beanie Siegel's song The Truth in 2000, and he would really explode when he produced Jay-Z's song Izzo when it came out in 2001. In conclusion, the original track listing and bootlegs have been found for this project, but the original copies of Death of Escobar remain lost. I got requested to do this segment by my boy Niall. Recent viewers of this channel know who I'm talking about, so if you know, you know. But he recommended that I talk about this, and it's definitely interesting. Now, personally, RIP everyone that has died that I have talked about in this video. But man, like when I found out that Kobe died, I was just like in shock, man. I was like mid rehearsal doing this thing for my fraternity, and I'm with some sorority girls, and they told us that he died, and it was just crazy, man. Like it was a crazy day for me that I will never forget. This long lost Kobe album though proves true to the age old saying, rappers want to be ball players and ball players want to be rappers, or something like along those lines. Like it might be vice versa, but I don't know. But I mean, like you have like Shaq, Allen Iverson, Damian Lillard, Ron Artest. Like I'm not gonna lie. Speaking of Ron Artest, yo, his song on 2K11, fire. Like I don't care what anyone says. Like that might be the best song by a basketball player ever. Like fight me. Like I do not care. Like that song is fire. But anyways, but earlier this year, an album Kobe made in 2000 had been fully recovered and leaked. This album contained features from Tyra Banks, Destiny's Child, Nas, even though he sampled his voice, 50 Cent, Black Thought, Beanie Sigel, and others. That's a pretty stacked lineup. Like I can't even lie. Like I can't even lie. But mind you, I said earlier in the Nas segment, this was not the 50 Cent that we know today. This was 50 Cent pre-Get Rich or Die Trying. 50 was originally supposed to appear on Nas's Death of Escobar, and that was originally going to be like his first big appearance on a major album like that. But like if he was supposed to be on Kobe's album back in 2000, like does that count like as a first? Like because Kobe kind of, you know, but back to the topic at hand though, and basically as to why Kobe would record an album, well, it apparently started after his, at the time, Laker teammate Shaq found success off the court with music. I think most people forget, or at least my generation doesn't know, that Shaq actually went platinum and gold, I believe. But Steve Stoute, the former president of Sony's urban music at the time, helped Shaq launch his rap career, and he would do the same for Kobe. So in 1999, Steve Stoute signed Kobe along with his rap group. I'm about to butcher the hell out of this, but I'm gonna put how they spell it on the screen. I don't know how they say. I don't know how you say that, but I don't know. But they got a deal. Now with this deal came having to relocate the group from LA to New Jersey. After 3 weeks of Kobe training on the court and recording late night raps at the Hit Factory, this project titled Visions was born. Now Kobe released a debut single for the project titled KOBE, which featured Tyra Banks. However, this didn't live up to the expectations Columbia Records had, so the project was quietly dropped without the entire album being released. This happened to be after Kobe released the single for the album on NBA All-Star Weekend, and he would go on to perform the song live at the game. Kobe still dabbled in rap after this, but ultimately no album ever came. Rap legend LL Cool J did do an interview where he recalled a memory of Kobe playing him this album, and he said, "We talked about rap. He played me this gangsta rap album, and I was like, Kobe, come on dog, that's not what you need to be doing. He played me that album. We're sitting in a parking lot. I was confused. I was there like, what are we doing? You got endorsements. What are you doing?" It had to be the funniest moment of my life listening to him do gangsta rap. In conclusion, this album has now been leaked and found and is available on the internet for you to enjoy. This is another entry from the Lost Media Wiki, and I found this rather interesting. Also, side note, sorry if this audio might sound a little different because I didn't record where I normally record, and this section was a last minute addition for you fans who like my videos to be a little longer. So basically, some backstory behind this Eazy-E story is that around 1992-ish, NWA would break up. Ice Cube would leave around 1989 and Dr. Dre would leave around 1992. While Ice Cube was pursuing a solo career after leaving NWA, there was some distance between him and the remaining members of NWA. What's interesting though is that when Ice Cube went solo, he still wanted Dre to produce his beats, and here is what Cube said about it in an interview. So when I went solo, I was like, I wanted Dr. Dre to do America's Most Wanted, but Jerry Heller vetoed that. So since he vetoed that stuff, and I'm pretty sure Eazy-E didn't want Dre to do it, but Dre did want to do it. We gotta put that on record. Dre wanted to do my record, but it was just too crazy with the breakup of NWA. So as you can see, Ice Cube said that Dre wanted to make some stuff with him, but Jerry Heller and also allegedly Eazy-E didn't want Dre to do it. To skip ahead a little bit, NWA would drop the 100 Miles and Running EP in August of 1990. On this EP, there was some jabs at Ice Cube. On the title track for the album, 100 Miles and Running, Dr. Dre, of all people, was throwing shots at Ice Cube, even after what I just said Ice Cube said. There's also some other notable disses on the EP. The 4th track on the EP as an example. But in December of 1990, Ice Cube would release the Kill at Will EP, and at the end of the song Jackin' for Beats, he mentions 100 Miles and Running. The next year, in May of 1991, NWA released their sophomore album, and on the track Always Into Something, Dr. Dre sent another shot at Ice Cube. Then to skip ahead a little bit further, Ice Cube would drop his sophomore album, Death Certificate, in October of 1991. On this album, people have said that Ice Cube has one of the best disses of all time with No Vaseline, where he slaughtered NWA. In an interview, Ice Cube had this to say: I think Dre had just finished The Chronic and he was about to put out Doggy Style with Snoop. We had a chance to really talk, and we never really talked about the song, you know? We still haven't talked about the song. I mean, dang. They was disrespectful too. If you really think about America's Most Wanted, I never even mentioned NWA on that record at all. I was all about what I was doing with PE and the Bomb Squad and Chuck D and them. So for them to diss me on their EP 100 Miles and Running, you know what I mean? I kind of threw a little jab with Jackin' for Beats at the end. And then they came with another, like, a couple little disses. I said, okay man, I'm tired of this. I'm gonna end this real quick. We're gonna set it all the way off. So that's when I wrote No Vaseline, recorded it. I put it on that Cinderfella track, that Dana Dane track. We flipped it and it became a smash. And I didn't know that at the time they was already fragmented, breaking up anyway. So that just, I guess, knocked them down like bowling pins. So Dr. Dre would release the second single off of his album The Chronic, which was Dre Day, and the single was released in May of 1993. He would have some shots at Ice Cube and Eazy-E on the track, and Eazy-E would respond with the legendary diss track Real MF&Gs in August of 1993. As we heard from Ice Cube earlier, between the releases of The Chronic and Snoop Dogg's album Doggy Style is when he finally really got a chance to talk to Dr. Dre. The weird thing about the Eazy-E and Ice Cube situation though is that there are no released tracks in which Eazy-E directly disses Ice Cube like Dr. Dre did for Eazy-E, for instance. It's alleged that Eazy-E decided not to release what has been reported to be an entire Ice Cube bashing EP because the two had reconciled before Eazy's untimely death. In 2011, a YouTuber released what was purported to be parts of a lost song titled When the Ice Crumbles, but DJ Yella had this to say about it in an interview. I've seen that. That's from an interview and they just put it on some track or something. I've heard some of it and thought, nah. I don't click on anything that's dissing somebody at all. I just keep scrolling past and I don't get into that stuff. Well, I did some research and I found a Reddit post where someone posted what seems to be a DM of an exchange that they had with DJ Speed. DJ Speed says that there was no EP or album. It was one song that will never be released, and all the rumors about an album are lies. So basically, according to DJ Speed, it was one track and it will likely never get released, which makes complete sense. It looks like this track will forever be lost. Man, the Geto Boys mind playing tricks on me. Definitely up there for one of the best rap songs of all time for sure, and that's not even a debate. The Geto Boys were a legendary rap group out of Houston, Texas, and about the song, one of the group's members, Scarface, said this in an interview. Mind Playing Tricks on Me was one of the numerous songs I wrote and produced myself. There were 3 verses. My first 2 verses, the verse that Bill rapped, was my own 3rd verse. It was a record I originally recorded for my solo album, but nobody wanted that song. I swear, nobody. Willie D didn't think the record would work, but he wrote a verse to it anyway after Jay had done his research on this song. He found some people who were really feeling it. He wanted everybody to rap on it. It became a Geto Boys record. This was said in an interview in 2010, I believe, and around 2016, Scarface would make an annotation on Genius underneath the song saying, "I wish I could find the original version of this song, the one I first recorded. I gave it to a buddy of mine named Little Silver, and he died. That's the only copy of My Mind Playing Tricks on Me with every verse by me. Somebody has that effing tape somewhere. It's me all by myself." As of today, it hasn't been found, and it's a true shame that it hasn't, because it would be real dope to hear Scarface all over the song, and I bet like a lot of people still want to hear it. I mean, like, who wouldn't? Like I said, like, it's one of the best rap songs of all time, so why wouldn't you like not want to hear like the early version of the song? In conclusion, this media is lost due to the circumstances Scarface just said, and it's a real shame. I've actually gotten a few requests to touch on this topic, and it's actually really interesting because like, I've been wanting to talk about Hammer, on my channel for like a little minute, because like I feel like I don't know how my generation feels about Hammer, but they need to definitely like get up on Hammer for 100%, because like Hammer was definitely, people cannot front, Hammer was that dude when he was out. This man had all the stuff that was cool before it was cool. This man had Pepsi endorsements. This man had his own freaking TV. He had his own cartoon. Like this man Hammer was like, bro, he was everything. You know what I mean? I don't know how people feel about him. I know people back in the day, they mess with Hammer. You know what I mean? And I just hate how his career got overshadowed because, the whole bankruptcy, broke thing and stuff like that. But anyways, let's just get to the point. And so by the time MC Hammer came to Death Row Records in 1995, he was in a weird part of his career because his smash album, Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him, came out in 1990. Then Too Legit to Quit still did pretty well after that, but obviously it's kind of hard to recapture what Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him did. Then he didn't drop an album until 3 years later when he dropped The Funky Headhunter, and it did still manage to go platinum, but as you can see, every album after Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him, he was starting to sell less and less. Tupac would also sign with Death Row in 1995 as well, and MC Hammer and Tupac really became good friends, and there are numerous pictures of them hanging out together. In regards to why Hammer signed with Death Row, he said this in an interview. Suge called me asking me would I like to join the family. Of course, with the marketing machine that Death Row has and the way that Suge knew how to get behind an artist and push his music, and also the fact that Suge Knight was and still is CEO of what the so-called insiders would call a gangsta rap label, wanted to put MC Hammer on his label. Well, what do they say? It said what I had always said, that music is music. This interview was done in 1997, by the way, because we all know what happened with Death Row. We all know what happened with Death Row. But like I said, Tupac and Hammer would hit it off, and this is what Hammer had to say about Tupac. I really had genuinely brotherly love for Pac when I became part of the Death Row family. I had told him about a song I wanted to do. It was off the Ohio player Skin Tight. I wanted to call it Too Tight. Before I could get to the studio, Tupac had gotten up early that morning, went to the studio, called in the background singers, laid down the background, and wrote a rap. He wanted me to rap, and it was done. He immediately embraced his partner from the town. And in the coming months after this track, more work was done on MC Hammer's album that was supposed to be called the Too Tight album. There's also another song called Unconditional Love, and this is what Hammer had to say about it in an interview. That's what Tupac gave me. That's what he gave to me that he wanted to give to the world, because his thing was, these are things that need to be said and I don't get to say them. I need somebody to say them, so I want you to say them. You can easily look up Tupac's version of the song, and it's truly amazing, and it's a true testament to how great him and his music was. It's also interesting to note that Hammer and Pac had a lot of plans together, and one of those plans was writing and making movies together. Tupac also had ideas to do a tour on the West Coast with high schools only, and the only students that could attend the concert had to have at least a C average. Tupac asked Hammer and Snoop Dogg to join him. Unfortunately though, in 1996, Tupac would pass away, and then Hammer would leave the label not that long after. Also, I know that I did label this segment the Tupac and MC Hammer Unreleased album, but that's simply mainly for titling. This was a MC Hammer album, but Tupac was heavily involved with it. In conclusion, it looks like we have some recordings that were probably intended for the album, but ultimately no album ever came, and it's a shame because if it was supposed to release at that time, it would have definitely sparked energy back into Hammer's career now that he was on a monster label, had the guidance of Tupac, had top-notch producers around him, along with numerous other things. But obviously, when Pac died, all this kind of went down the drain, and then we started to see the decline of Death Row with everybody leaving. But it's always cool to like speculate and think about like what could have happened. But yeah, like it's a shame that like I said, like we have some tracks that were probably intended for the album, but the whole album or multiple tracks intended for this album might be floating around somewhere. So I think that it's safe to label this as partially lost. This pretty much wraps up the video today. Thank you guys so much for coming through and listening to all of this. Special thanks to all the people who stayed all the way through until the end of the video. You guys are the true champs, and I really mess with you guys. All in all, tell me what you guys think of the video and some of the things that I've talked about today, because you know I always like to have conversation and stuff like that, and you know I always like to be engaged with you guys. And like I said, definitely link me some unreleased stuff or some lost media stuff that you guys want me to talk about, because yeah, like we're trying to keep this series going. So yeah, so all that, man. So make sure to tell me in the comment section below what you guys think. I love you guys with all my heart. Peace.